morning, cuties and comrades. Today is another beautiful day in history, and we've got critical work to do. I'm Sarah Michnick, and I'm here to be your critical thinking coach, which means we walk through the 5 different dimensions of what it means to be a critical thinker so you can strengthen those critical thinking muscles because you already got them. But it helps if you know what they are. Like triceps, glutes, etc. It's like that. You see how I wouldn't be very good in a gym because I wouldn't know what all the muscle groups are, right? And what to target and what strategies to do. Hey, that's what I'm doing with thinking. So I'm going to help you figure out what elements of your mind should you strengthen so you can use your intelligence to the utmost degree. That's what I want for you, baby. That's why we're here today. And I'm feeling pretty good about it. How about you? Especially because, it is a Thursday, which means we're talking about independence. What? Evoking the confidence to think creatively and divergently. That's what we're doing today. How can we make you confident to be you and to think authentic thoughts that come from you? I don't want you following the crowd. I don't want you to be one of the sheep. And I know you're totally not. But here's the thing. When you begin to understand what independence really is, you're going to discover all those ways that you're not acting independently. That's just the way it goes. You'll realize the moments that you are and the moments that you're not. And I think we can all admit that sometimes we bend, right? It's part of human nature. We all do it. Human nature, whatever. It's part of our human tendencies, is really what I'm saying. It's a pattern that we tend to fall into historically. Whether or not there's some nature to us, we do fall into patterns. So there's something there. So, in order to counteract that trajectory that we tend to slip down, we want to strengthen our muscles and resist that tendency because that tendency has caused a lot of harm. I think it was Howard Zinn who said something to the effect, Google it for exactitude, because that's why I print out cards. We'll get to cards later, but cards have all the exact words. My mind is doing its best, okay? It's an independent functioning thing, and it doesn't get it always right, but it does its best. So Howard Zinn said something to the effect of, the world's worst atrocities weren't done by people breaking the rules. It was done by people following the rules, right? And so that's really the key part of being independent. We want to be able to break from things that are harmful when everyone else is engaging in them. And that happens more often than we'd like. I can point to many times in my life where I passively, without even realizing it, without wanting to be harmful, I was going with the crowd, and turns out I was part of the harm. And had I recognized that I didn't like it, that my authentic truth was outside of what was happening, I could have done something about it. And yesterday on consequences, we talked about not having any regrets. And critical thinkers, that's what we're trying to liberate you from. Regrets, baby. So especially those regrets of harm, when you could have been that singular voice who stood up and said no and been right, even though everyone else thought they were right. When that one person speaks up, it can change everything. It can change everything for the better. Sometimes it changes things for the worse, but that's why we want to engage all of these critical muscles. If you're being intentional about things that are essential, thinking about the consequences in the real world in your own independent way and using your power to do it, I trust you, man. I trust you. I think you're going to do the right thing. You're smart. You're an intelligent creature. And I think you know what's important, right? But the more we strengthen and get better at it, oh man, to be that person is hard to stand up. But I think you've got it in you. So you never want to be caught up in that moment where you're part of the harm, right? Much better to be that solo one who stands up and does something. And so we all want to be that, right? Man, think about all the movies who all the movies that represent that kind of character, right? Oh man, we all dream of being that character. And so make it a reality by studying. Here are those cards I was talking about. By studying the knowledge of other people. This is my knowledge of the people, by the people, for the people, because I have been collecting thoughts on what it means to be independent from people across time and across the globe. But I'm just one person doing this. And honestly, I've been stuck in a tradition that has been Western and male and white. And straight, I assume. Certainly, what is the word? Heteronormative. Certainly that, whether or not they were straight. They envisioned a particular way of the world. And so help me out. Help me out. I've been studying that tradition, and there's a lot of useful stuff in that tradition. I'm not throwing out straight white guys, okay? Straight white guys from the West. You're accepted here. We just want to expand, okay? That's all. That's all. So it is heavy on that, but I'm working on it, and I could use your help. Wow, you've got different perspectives. You have a diverse knowledge of the people, by the people, for the people of your own. You have wisdom that you've collected, maybe not like me in a systematic, weird way. But you've pinned quotes on Pinterest. You've liked those quotes on Twitter. Okay. You've been shaped by people different from me who've had the same thoughts. Strange how we all come to similar conclusions. Not the same conclusions, but they harmonize. There's a harmony to these conclusions. They resonate at the same tone. They're not identical. They're not equal in the fact that they're exactly the same, but they're similar. They ring of the same tone. So funny how when you engage all these capacities, which I'd say if you're in my pile, you're a critical thinker, and you are too. So hey, you've got quotes, you've said things, you also have knowledge, just like these people. They're no better than us, but they've just said stuff from their particular perspective. That's really great to share. So let's toss it in and see what our critical thinkers today have to say about independence. Bum, ba-da-lum, bum, bum. Ooh. Okay. You know what? I'm not doing that one today. Sorry. That one was about school in particular. I'm still trying to figure out, I want to talk about school, but I don't want to bog y'all down with school talk in the morning. Okay. So I need to figure out a way. So that's why I cut that one. Okay. I didn't even read this one and I just held it up. It's not about school. Because it's by Christopher Hitchens. He may have talked about school. I'm sure he did, but he had other things to talk about, including this. Let's see what he has to say. I've been watching a lot of him lately. Found him very comforting lately. Take the risk of thinking for yourself. Much more happiness, truth, beauty, and wisdom will come to you that way. Christopher Hitchens. Now, how could this possibly be the case? If I have just spent time talking about how, I have been fueled myself by other people's wisdom, then why is it so important? Other people have thought great things. Why is it necessary that I think for myself and take a risk? Aren't I already thinking for myself? Aren't I in my own head? Yes, you are. Of course you are. Of course you're thinking, and you got some brilliant thoughts. I'm super into them. But thinking for yourself means you don't just take my word for it or anyone's word for it. This is where I think the critical tradition has one of its greatest strengths. It's a tradition of resistance. It's a tradition that says what is important to the act of thinking and knowledge building is resisting just blind, passive acceptance. We resist that. We don't just take things for what they are. We are critical about everything in our unique way. We follow our own colors, our spectrum, looks different than other people's spectrums. You hold things important, essential that I don't. And that's fine. That's good because other people hold those things essential that you hold essential too. And I bet at the heart of those things that you hold essential, there's something resonating that's the same as the things that I hold essential, right? So let's say you're super into sports, right? Basketball is your thing. Basketball is essential to your life. And for me, what's essential? Books. I need books. Okay. And you're like, whatevs. But what's at the heart of both of those essential needs in our lives, right? What's at the heart of them? Love, right? Our authentic love. And we're allowed to love different things, but at the heart of all essential things are love and need, right? And we can relate on that level. How you engage in your love and need looks different because you're independent, but we're connected by that love and need. We're connected by our essentials. So our knowledge is connected, but you have to do things in your own way. You have to resist. You have to resist. Not because other people are bad. No, you have to. Resistance is about boundaries and saying, no, I'm different. That isn't exactly right for me. I'm going to tweak this a little bit because you bet your bottom dollar. If I look through all these people's quotes, I wouldn't have written it like that. I would have structured the sentence a different way, even though I totally agree with all these truths. That wouldn't have been the word I used, but man, I'm so glad they used that word because that word might speak to other people who use that word, right? We don't want to all be doing the same thing. And so, because we care deeply about independence and you being on your own and being able to stand on your own, we want you to resist. We want you to resist and say, I don't think like that. Because you know what? I remember, and this is so funny, but no one explicitly told me this. Because I love books, I was, for a long time, if you wrote a book, you were smart, yeah? You knew what you were talking about. You must be right. That was my uncritical logic that I was following without even realizing it. And it wasn't until like high school senior year, you guys, that I read something in a book for the first time and I was like, "Oh my god, I think they're wrong." And that changed everything for me. I was like, "Wait a whole darn second now." And I didn't realize the logic that I was working on, which was I was passively consuming information as if it wasn't touched by human hands. And all knowledge is touched by human hands, which means all knowledge is potentially fallible. All knowledge is potentially harmful. All knowledge is good, but also because it's in human hands, we know we mess up all the time. We cause harm more often than we'd like. And even when we're not trying, is my point, is even accidentally we cause harm. I think there are people who cause harm on purpose, of course. And that also has to be taken into consideration, not because we think knowledge is bad, but knowledge is just in human hands. There needs to be a warning. And that's what critical the tradition is all about, is helping you, putting that warning label in your mind, making you aware. So how long will you go? How many more uncritical logics are you working from? Hopefully with this kind of mindset that says, okay, yeah, things are in human hands. And so resisting isn't a matter of saying things are bad out there, rejecting. Resisting is not about rejecting. Resisting is saying, I need to figure out how to handle this my way. I need to figure out this knowledge, whatever this is, because I have chosen quotes that I like, right? But there are lots of quotes that I wouldn't like, but are like close to something, right? And I could tweak for my purposes. And again, yes, could my purposes be for ill? Of course. But again, because I'm a critical thinker and I believe in people. Hello, I'm an elementary educator. I know what you were like at 8 years old. Okay, I just do. I just do. 8 year olds are pure, amazing creatures. Every last one of them. There's no such thing as a bad 8 year old. There are broken 8 year olds, so you may have been a broken 8 year old, but you were not a bad 8 year old. I know that about you. I know that about you. And so, yeah, I believe in you. You could have been in my class on another timeline, another universe. You, my friend, could have been in my class. And I would have believed in you then, and I believe in you now. Oh, teachers. We're a fun breed, okay? Get some teachers in your life. We're pretty optimistic. Okay, so let's keep going back to independence. So I trust you to use these things independently because, yeah, that's what teachers do. So take the risk. It isn't easy to resist. That's why people don't like these theories of resistance. What's it all about? They're rejecting, they're pushing back. Yeah, to make space for independent thinkers, not just one track conversations, okay? We're trying to have a democratic discourse where everyone does get to share their unique thoughts in a different way because happiness, truth, beauty, and wisdom will come to you that way. Christopher Hitchens, he said it, not me. I kind of believe it though. You will be happier, have more truth in your life, more beauty, and more wisdom if you learn how to resist and make knowledge in your own tone. I'm trying to think of the word. In your own key? Yes, knowledge. You need to turn everything you learn needs to become yours. You need to own that knowledge. And you can't own that knowledge by taking pre-packaged off the shelf what somebody else gave you. You've got to sit with knowledge and let it reform in yourself. Walt Whitman says something about this. I'm not going to quote it because it'll be too bad, but he says, reject anything that doesn't fit your soul. And he's not saying, like, oh, if you don't like the scientific fact, reject it. No. Scientific facts, we've got to deal with objective reality. But independently, it's how are you going to live with this reality? How are you going to live with it? Because you need to figure out a way to live with it in your own way. Not run from the scientific facts, not reject the scientific facts. That's not what Walt Whitman's saying. He's saying take it in and figure out a way, reject ways that other people are dealing with objective facts if it doesn't suit you. We can't change objective reality in some cases. I think we have a lot more power than we realize to change this world. And if we put our focus towards things that seem impossible, they can be changed. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. So you figure out your independent way. If this is the reality and I don't like it, how can I change it in my own independent way? What can I engage in that will make this reality into a new one? So not rejecting the reality, but taking it in, making it our own, then it becomes powerful when we figure out our own way to deal with knowledge. It's pretty cool. So I'll leave you at that. Hopefully that gives you some empowerment for your day. Get out there and take stuff in. Resist. Not because people are bad, but because you deserve not to have pre-cut, cookie cutter knowledge in your mind. You want to put your own custom touch on that stuff. How does it fit in your universe? Because boy, if you can get those knowledge pieces, not just on some standardized shelf, that everybody else, it looks exactly the same. You have the same arguments as everybody else. No, make facts fit your internal universe. Make it make sense to you. And if it doesn't make sense, how can you engage in something else to make what you feel, how mad this fact makes you? What is your independent response to a fact you don't like, a reality you don't like? Oh man, that's where there's so much there. There's so much fertile soil in this independent area. So I'm excited for you getting out there and doing your own thing today. Have a colorfully critical day and don't forget to stay independent out there. I'll see you tomorrow for empowerment. Bye.